Let's dive into the world of feature engineering in the world of machine learning. What is feature engineering anyway? Well, basically, it's the process of applying what you know about your data to sort of trim down the features that you're using, or maybe create new features or transform the features you have. What do I mean by features? Well, those are the attributes of your training data, the things that you're training your model with. Let's take an example. So, let's say we're trying to predict how much money people make based on various attributes of the people. So your features in that case might be the age of a person, their height, their weight, their address, what kind of car they drive, any number of things, right? Some of those things are going to be relevant to the things you're trying to predict, and some of them won't be. So the process of feature engineering is in part just selecting which features are important to what I'm trying to predict and choosing those features wisely. A lot of times you need to transform those features in some way as well. Maybe the raw data isn't useful for the specific model you're using. Maybe things need to be normalized or scaled in some way or encoded in some specific way. Often you'll have things like missing data. In the real world, often you do not have complete data for every single data point, and the way that you choose to deal with that can very much influence the quality of the resulting model that you have. Also, sometimes you want to create new features from the existing ones that you have. Perhaps the numerical trends in the data that you have for a given feature are better represented by taking the log of it or the square of it or something like that. Or maybe you're better off taking several features and combining them mathematically into one to reduce your dimensionality. This is all what feature engineering is about. You can't just take all the data you have and throw it into this big machine learning hopper and expect good things to come out the other end. This is really the art of machine learning. This is where your expertise is applied to actually get good results out of it. It's not just a mechanical process where you follow these steps, take all the data you have, throw it into this algorithm, and see what predictions you make. That's what separates the good machine learning practitioners from the bad ones. The ones that can actually do feature engineering are the ones that are the most successful and the most valuable in the job marketplace, of course. And this isn't stuff that's generally taught, right? So this is largely a lot of stuff that is learned through experience and actually being out there in the real world and practicing machine learning. Why is feature engineering important in the first place? Well, it's about the curse of dimensionality. What do we mean by that? Well, like I said, you can't just throw every feature you have into the machine and expect good things to happen. Too many features can actually be very problematic for a few different reasons. First is that it leads to sparse data. So again, come back to the example of trying to train a model on attributes of people. There are hundreds of attributes on a person you could come up with, right? Like we said, age, height, weight, what car do you drive, how much money do you make, where do you live, who knows, where did you go to college? The list goes on and on and on. And you can actually envision each person as a vector in the dimensional space of all these features, okay? So stay with me here. Imagine, for example, that the only feature we have is a person's age. You could represent a person by a vector along a single age axis, right? Going from 0 to 100 or whatever. Now we throw in another dimension, say their height. We have another dimension, another axis that we have this vector pointing to that encodes both their age on one axis and their height on another, right? So now we have a two-dimensional vector. Throw in a third dimension there, say how much money they make. Now we have a vector in 3 dimensions, where one dimension is their age, one dimension is their height, one dimension is how much money they make. And as we keep adding more and more dimensions, the available space that we have to work with just keeps exploding, right? This is what we call the curse of dimensionality. So the more features you have, the larger the space that we can find a solution is within. And having a big space to try to find the right solution in just makes it a whole lot harder to find that optimal solution. So the more features you have, the more sparse your data becomes within that solution space, and the harder it is to actually find the best solution. So you're better off boiling those features down to the ones that matter the most. That will give you less sparse data and make it a lot easier to find the correct solution. Also, just from a performance standpoint, imagine trying to create a neural network that has inputs for every one of those features, encoded in whatever way that it needs, right? This neural network would have to be massive, extremely wide at the bottom, probably extremely deep as well to actually find all of the relationships between these many features. And it's just going to be ridiculously hard to get that to converge on anything. So a big part of success in machine learning is not just choosing the algorithm, not just cleaning your data, but also choosing the data that you're using in the first place. That's what feature engineering is all about. Again, a lot of it comes down to domain knowledge and sort of using your common sense about what will work and what won't toward improving your model, and just experimenting with different things and seeing what makes an effect and what doesn't, what helps, what hurts things. So a lot of it's just going back and forth with, does this feature help things? No? Okay, we won't use it. Does this feature help things? No? Okay, try something else. Now, you don't always have to guess, to be fair. There are some more principled ways of doing dimensionality reduction. So one of them is called PCA, Principal Component Analysis. PCA is a way of taking all of those higher dimensions, all those different features that you have, and distilling them down into a smaller number of features, to a smaller number of dimensions. And it tries to do this in a way that preserves information as well as possible. So, I mean, if you have enough computational power to actually use PCA on a large set of features, that is a more principled way of distilling it down to the features that actually matter. And the features you end up with aren't actually, things you can put a label on. It's just, artificially created features that capture the essence of the features that you started with. K-means clustering is another way of doing this. What's nice is that these are both unsupervised techniques, so you don't have to actually train these on anything. You can just throw the feature data you have into these algorithms, and it will boil out, if you will, a smaller set of dimensions that will work just, well, hopefully closely as well. But again, more features is not better. That leads to what we call the curse of dimensionality, and that's one of the main reasons that we want to do feature engineering, and one of the main things you're going to be doing in that process.